Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And that was a quote from the very famous Jim Rohn, who was a teacher of Anthony Robbins, just to name 1,000 to 2,000 people that he's helped over his lifetime. Anyway, I'm talking about habits because right now that's kind of on the table in discussions with things that I'm talking to Eli about. And we're getting very, very simple, very, very basic. And you know what? Most people need to have this basic, simple foundation in order to move forward, in order to be successful, in order to be problem solvers. And some of this stuff that I'm sharing, that I'm working on with Eli may seem like, wow, this is real, that's dumb. But you know what? Take a look at the big picture. Take a look at the formula. It's the formula that makes things happen. Let me give you an example. I went over to, Eli, I live near Eli, but he lives with his mom. And I went over there and I took a look inside his room, and it was like, oh my God, did an atomic bomb go off in this particular room? Now, I remember when I was a kid, and I wasn't the neatest person. Even as an adult, I'm not the neatest person. But my room never, at least in my recollection, and once again, when you think back, it's like, well, you were always smarter and you were always more clever when you were a kid, than you actually were, all right? But the point is, his room was just a disaster area, so I said, and not looking to get into a fight, not looking to get into an argument, wanting to move forward. Once again, I got to think about, what is my objective here? My objective is to educate, lead, and inspire first Eli, and then other people that want to tune in and listen in. They're welcome to, to latch on, to embrace some of the same principles. But here's the point. My main objective is I want to move them forward. So am I going to move them forward by yelling and saying, what a slob, what a piece of crap, look at this room, it looks like the atomic bomb? Is that going to solve anything? So you want to think about, how am I going to be able to solve this issue, right? So I said to him, is there any way that maybe, you could pick up your room a little bit? I mean, you got to admit, it's kind of a disaster area in there, right? He said, yeah. He says, but when I start to do that, there's just like so much to do. I mean, there's like, it's everywhere. I said, Eli, we've talked about this before. And once again, when I have issues myself, I always fall into the same pit that everybody else falls into until I stop, have my quiet thinking time, and move forward with it. So here's the the way our conversation went. I said, Eli, you're right. This is not going to be solved in one day. So what are we going to do? Let's see if we can't work out some sort of a game plan that's going to make you successful. I said, why don't we do this? Why don't we commit 5 to 10 minutes? That's all. Can you commit 5 to 10 minutes every day to putting some things away, to start the cleaning process? You're going to spend 5 to 10 minutes. That's all. Okay? 5 to 10 minutes. That's what you're going to spend. And you know what happens when you do that? You start spending 5 to 10 minutes and your body's in motion. But the first thing is, get to the starting line. Have we heard this before? Is get to the starting line. And once you get to the starting line, you go for a while, you run into a roadblock. Your roadblock may be something technical. It may be like, hey, I got to go to work. It may be, I'm bored, I want to do something else. All right? But you run into a roadblock. But if you work on that for 5 to 10 minutes, you know what happens most of the time? Most of the time, you end up working for 15 or 20 minutes. Why? Because your body is already in motion. Now, here's the key point. The key point that makes you or breaks you is your habits. And we all have habits. Every single day we do the same thing 95% of the time. point is, though, are you doing the right habits? Now, under the heading of being a mentor, being a dad, I want to help Eli to move forward. I want him to move forward faster than the speed of light. That's not going to happen. So I've got to recognize the obstacles that are there. So once again, want to make some changes, but want to do it a little bit at a time. So my strategy is, let's work on this room for 5 to 10 minutes. Now, if I have to get in there with him and work and start putting stuff away, I'll do that. I don't have a problem with that. But let's get to the point where we're doing 5 to 10 minutes minimum. And once again, once you do that, you actually spend an additional at least 5 or 10 minutes more cleaning up, and it will get done faster. But the key thing is getting to that starting line. And then once we do that, then we say, hey, look, we chunked it down into small components. We had a starting line that we can envision. We had an end point, either time-oriented or project-oriented that we stuck with, and we made some progress. Progress is the elixir. Progress is the elixir. So when you're mentoring somebody, walk through them in the beginning, have them make some progress. Now, that's the first thing. So we're working on that. So Eli, here's the formula to solving problems. Chunk it down. Set a timeline that you're going to get started. Commit to it every single day. When you start to make progress, you're going to be more motivated to do more and more and more. Now, the next thing I want to do with Eli is, before you go to sleep, I want you to think about your burning desire, your goal, your purpose, your objective, whatever that may be, whether it's on the business side of the balance sheet, the personal side of the balance sheet, the spiritual side of the balance sheet, whatever that is, I want you to think of that end result. Right before you go to sleep, visualize that. See it, feel it, smell it, taste it, touch it. Send that vibe out there into the universe. Right before you cross the border from consciousness to sleep, consciousness to unconsciousness, your brain continues to work. But make sure when you do that, that you don't visualize things that you tried and failed, because if you had an issue, obviously you tried to correct it, or you tried to solve it, and you weren't successful. That's why it's still an issue at the end of the night. The point is, only point out the solution, the final product. Visualize the final product. And when you send that vibe out there, the universal partner that wants to help you, will single out that thought and take all of the resources that have gone in one ear and out the other that you have, and will put them into play. Now, it won't happen every night. You won't wake up the next morning with a solution every single night. You might wake up in the middle of the night with an idea. Make sure you capture that idea. Make sure you write it down. Or what I like to do is just send a verbal text to myself. I have my phone next to my bed, turn it on, do that, because then I don't forget. How many times have you thought of something in the middle of the night, you said, boy, that's a great idea, and then you woke up in the morning and said, what was that idea? I forgot that idea. All right, so once again, I'm starting with Eli, working man to man with him. First thing is, let's get the process, how the process works. The process, chunk things down, do a little bit at a time, commit, make progress. Then you are able to embrace the formula. Once you do that, it's a stepping stone. All right, what's the next thing we want to do? Well, the next thing, like I said, was before you go to sleep, visualize, so on and so forth. Next thing after that, quiet thinking. You follow what I'm saying? The same scenarios that you face, that I face, that Eli faces in terms of problem solving, you chunk them down. So what have I done? I've taken the big picture. He's like, 17-year-old teenage habits, want to get rid of those, but don't want to be oppressive about it. All right, and some of them are good. I mean, he's got some good habits too. I mean, it's not all bad. But the point is, want to get that mindset thinking in a positive direction, seeing results, and not suffering from overwhelm, which is something that we all, especially teenagers, fall victim to. Does that make some sense? All right, so at one time in your life, You're going to be a mentor to your children, maybe to a friend that needs help, maybe to someone that's lost somebody that you're there to, lend support to, so somebody can lean on you. You follow what I'm saying? Always remember the formula. The formula. Small components, starting line, commitment, progress, restart. Same formula every day. Does that make sense? All right. And remember always, don't ration the passion, fashion the passion. I'm Eli's dad.